Roll call, Carl.
I'm here.
Bob.
Here.
I'm here. And we do not have the fire chief, but we have the deputy chief. Pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appointments of board treasurer. So we held a special meeting to interview 2 people for the treasurer's spot, and it was a unanimous that that we would like Tammy Bryant to take over the duties of treasurer. Do we need anything other than a motion, John?
No, motion will be fine.
Okay.
Ask the question.
When we get to public comment, if you could wait.
Thank you.
Would that be okay?
That's fine.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we appoint Tammy Bryant as treasurer of the Rockland Fire Protection District.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just a couple of things along with that. The trustees, I believe it's a requirement for the county that the trustees all carry a $50,000 performance bond. And it is recommended that the treasurer, if they are not a trustee, should also be bonded.
Okay.
And we get to set that amount, where the county sets the amount for us, we can set the amount. I think we discussed it at the meeting and felt that the same amount is reasonable. So our insurance carrier will handle that, and will extend that bond to the cost of $42 a year. So
Okay.
we'll go ahead and confirm that with them.
Okay.
If that's what you guys would like.
I think so.
Yes.
John, can we also handle under the same line item the compensation?
Yes.
Okay, as we had discussed at the meeting, the compensation for the treasurer will be $1,500 per year. May I have a motion to pay the treasurer $1,500 per year?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second
Okay, seconded by Carl. Roll call vote. Carl?
that. Aye.
Bob? Aye. Dan? Aye. Okay.
As far as the signatures and stuff, that was my fault. I put out the minutes, the wrong version, and all it didn't have on it was the changing of the signatures that are going to be needed. Can we just go ahead and do that?
My concern on that, which I asked, is that what we have to provide to the bank is a resolution of association or organization. And there, you will have to sign that we formally gave the authority to these people to be the signatures on the account. And it will say at a meeting on such and such a date, that has to go in the form. So that was the reason for my putting it on the agenda.
Yes, and I think it properly should be on the agenda, so you should probably wait until the September meeting to get that approved. Because
Okay.
it does have to be a resolution to the bank authorizing those signatories.
Okay. And can you prepare that for next meeting? Or do you want me to pick it up from the bank?
No. So all we have to do at the meeting is make a resolution
Okay.
that you, but this was the old one.
Right.
And basically what we have to do is say that, Dan is the president, Tammy is the treasurer, probably best to keep me on as
Yep.
a trustee.
Okay.
We just have to officially say at this meeting we do it. Then we get the form from the bank anytime, fill it out, and then over here it just says this certifies that on something day of September of 2017. It has resolved that this is all true, and it gets signed by the secretary and by the president.
Right. Do we need to prepare just a short resolution, an actual resolution to date the bank with that? Or is it just?
No, the bank form will suffice.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
so-
why they send that form.
Okay, so bring the bank form to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just you can just sort of read what it says and you go aye, and then you can sign this and it's all good.
Okay. Consideration of minutes of the Rockland Fire Protection District, July 17th, budget workshop, July 17th, and special meeting of August 1st. There was only one opening that Vlad had left us in here. He was looking for
Item 19,
Right, Joe something was stepping down as lieutenant. Did you have a, he missed his name? Joe Neasley? Okay. E-S-L-E-Y.
Yes.
Right, he just missed Joe's last name on the minutes. All right, can I have a motion to accept those 3 sets of minutes as amended by adding Neasley behind Joe?
So moved.
Second that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, public comment. If anybody in the public has a comment, now would be the time to stand up and address the board. This is for public comment only. If you have questions for the board, we're happy to stay after if you have a question for any one of us. We all try to get here around 6 o'clock if you have questions prior to that. So I will open it up for public comment. Yes, sir. Please, if you could give your name and they'll put it in there. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Brown and I am a resident of the Sanctuary of the Lake Bluff. Last month, I spoke at length about the definition of a trustee and the requirement of the position to be independent and free of outside influence and predisposition to ensure the best sustainable outcome for the residents of Knollwood and the Sanctuary, who are the beneficiaries of the trust. This month, the topic is property and ownership. Many years ago, the people who originally created the organizational structure for fire protection were very wise and forward-thinking to separate operations of the Knollwood Fire Station as the property placed within the trust from the money management and finances overseen by the RFPD trustees from the actual beneficiaries and owners of the trust, which are the residents of Knollwood and the Sanctuary. This structure provides for a legal set of checks and balances to prevent one group from changing the original intent of the trust to provide direct ownership and control of fire protection services to the residents of the community through shared common ownership and financial responsibility. This is why when the new fire station was built, the trustees were required to secure the majority vote of the community through referendum before proceeding forward with securing loans and construction could begin. They had to secure the approval of the owners before doing anything. What this means is that the trustees are not the owners of the Knollwood Fire Station, or anything for that matter. They are simply a steward of the trust and only have authority to shepherd and manage the process of ensuring the sustainability of the benefits that the property owned by the residents is not diminished by measure of services, finances, and cultural benefit. Their job is to maintain and improve what exists to transition to the next trustee who will repeat the process. So why can't the trustees close the Knollwood Fire Station? Because they are not the owners of the property. Only an owner can dispose of property, nor can they create situations or scenarios that would diminish or impair the value of the owner's property. Any disposition of the Knollwood Fire Station is outside their authority and would need the voting referendum approval of the owners before proceeding. It is important to note that the value of the property, the Knollwood Fire Station, is more than the sum of the cost of the bricks and land to build it, as the Knollwood Fire Station provides more benefit to the community than simply fire protection services, and is a long-standing school that anchors our Knollwood identity and creates many of the social contract opportunities that our young people depend on for their future development and success. In fact, the cost of the Knollwood Fire Station is priceless, as it cannot be bought by anyone for any amount of money. Even Bill Gates, the richest man on the planet, cannot buy the Rockland Fire Station. Think about that later when you have some time. So why do I even mention any of this? Because recently there have been several internal emails posted on the www.friendsofknollwoodfire.com's website from the Village of Libertyville that have unveiled predispositions and outside agendas of one of our RFPD trustees. For everyone here and those listening later on YouTube, please go to the website and read the emails yourself and come to your own conclusions. Please pay attention to the listed dates and who is credited with the concepts outlined in the emails. Does anything stated support the credibility of an independent trustee? Is there a premeditated conspiracy with outside influence? I would think most everyone views the Village of Libertyville and its fire chief as a credible source. So this information creates many questions about the independence and policy motives of our appointed trustees that need to be answered. The community was publicly advised by our Lake County Board Representative Mike Brummel on April 29, 2017 at our Knollwood Town Hall meeting that Lisa Madigan's Illinois Attorney General Office provides the oversight and is the resource to contact for help and support in governance issues of the RFPD trustees. Are our trustees ready for a full investigation? As our new RFPD president, Dan Rogers, has recently solicited service consolidation proposals from Libertyville and Lake Forest, I call on Dan Rogers to assuage the concerns of the community about the potential conflict of interest that the Libertyville emails imply, and publicly affirm that no changes of service to our community will occur without the referendum voting support of the actual trust owners, the residents of both Knollwood and the sanctuary. To my friends and neighbors, have faith and never give up on defending our property, the Knollwood Fire Department, as there will come a time that this duplicity will end and judgment and justice will have its day. Thank you for this.
Thank you. Would you like to provide a copy of that to the attorney to add to the minutes?
Yes. Gladly.
Any other comments? Yes, sir. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Bob Bush, B-U-S-H. I am a longtime resident of Lake Bluff and Knollwood. In fact, I think I've spent all except maybe 8 years of my life, and I'm now 60, in Lake Bluff and in Knollwood, and Lake Forest, excuse me. The only thing that, especially after hearing that comes to mind is, Dan, Bob, I need to ask you guys a question. I doubt you'll answer it. But what's the end game? You know, have you and Rummel and Mr. Rogers formed a corporation? Are you planning to buy this thing and turn it around and flip it to the state for a profit? I don't see what the end game is. Educate us. What is your end game?
Are you finished?
Well, Dan, I've known you for many years, and I'm just
I'll make this
aghast.
I'll make this comment just quickly. Again, we are available before and after the meeting. This is a public comment section, and we're here to hear your public comments. I'm happy to stay after the meeting and have a discussion with you if you'd like.
That would be wonderful. I look forward to spending some time with you.
Are you finished?
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yep, Ed Whitehead. Last month, I made available to you guys if you want to apologize for the lies you've been telling on video, and as I said last month, were confirmed by Aaron Waller. If you want to apologize to the community for what you've done and what you've said, this would be a great opportunity to take that. And if you want to do it after the meeting's over, when you've got time to comment on it, camera can still be on.
All right, any other comments? All right, hearing none. We'll go to the attorney's report. Attorneys?
Yes, several things. The board asked that we provide a memo to the board regarding background examinations for current employees, and if you'd rather discuss that under the hiring policy section down the way, I'm happy to address that then.
You take care of it now if you.
Okay.
Take care of it now.
The board and Chief Harlow have worked on developing a hiring policy for employees of the district. We've reviewed the policy. We don't see any problems with it. In part of that review, the question arose as to background checks for current employees. The policy, the proposed policy, does contain a requirement for background checks, which certainly we would wholeheartedly endorse. In terms of current employees, the question was raised as to whether or not the district's current liability insurance policy might require those background checks. And in my research of that policy, I do not see that as a requirement. The question as to whether or not the board or the district would want to undertake the background investigations of current employees is solely a policy decision for the board. The facts that would mitigate in favor of background checks for current employees would be to ensure that the district employees are in fact free from criminal convictions that might interfere or result in questions as to their ability to conduct the business of the district. On the other side of that coin, the cons, the opposition to conducting those background checks is first that if the district were to do that, you would have to confront whatever results you might find. Under the Illinois Human Rights Act, no employer, government or non-government, can take action against an employee based on arrests only. It must be on convictions. Second is, typically in the fire service, it would be serious felony convictions, and those are the convictions that we've also highlighted in the proposed policy regarding hiring of new employees. Certainly if the district were to discover that a serious felony conviction was in the background of a current employee and it was unknown to the district would have to weigh the benefits of, or the questions of whether or not that firefighter was then able to continue in the service of the district. My recommendation to the district would be that certainly that the district adopt a policy requiring background checks going forward for any and all employees of the district. In terms of the current employees, I do not believe, and my recommendation to the district would be that background checks of the current employees would be beneficial to the district. If the district, the Board of Trustees, the fire chief, the deputy fire chief, or any employees of the district, or any citizen comes into information that would call into question the criminal history of any current employee of the district, and that information is brought forward to the chief or the district board, then certainly a background check might be in order. Then I think the board would have an obligation to do that. But just to now draw a line that says we're going to background check everybody, I just don't see that as being beneficial to the district at this point in time.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation on that topic, and as I said, there is a memo that I wrote to the board that you have.
Okay.
Second topic I have is Freedom of Information Act requests. The district has received a number of requests from Friends of Knollwood regarding freedom of information. There was a request in July for personal email information or records that might be from Trustees Grum and Rogers. I talked to both Trustees Grum and Rogers. They both indicated they had no personal email at the time that I talked to them, which was about the 17th or 18th of July. I communicated that information to Friends of Knollwood. Friends of Knollwood indicated back to me that because the response was late, they had filed with the Attorney General's office. And on Friday, we received a communication from the Attorney General's office that they determined that no further inquiry was warranted and that that file was closed. On July 31st, the district received what I believe are 2 emails from Friends of Knollwood for certain records of the district. I brought copies of both of those for the board members. And when we received
Multiples? That's
yes, well, yeah.
Oh, sorry. But that was a packet going down to you, Carl.
When we received this request, because it did seem to require a large amount of information, I did ask Friends of Knollwood to give us an extension of the time to file until August the 21st, knowing that we would be at the meeting tonight. There is one email that asks for Freedom of Information Act request that asks for all emails sent or received regarding proposals for services, consolidation, contract services, draft contract from the Village of Libertyville Fire Protection District, Channel 7, ABC, Lake County Board, birthday party, building use, using the address of snowdog1@aol.com and lffd204@ameritech.net. Those clearly are requests for the personal email accounts of Trustees Rogers and Grum. Again, I would ask Trustees Rogers and Grum to check their email records to see if anything exists today that would fulfill that request, although based on responses to prior Freedom of Information Act requests, I suspect there is nothing there. The second email, also Freedom of Information Act request, also received on July 31st, is copies of any and all studies, reports, presentations conducted by Rockland Fire Protection District that address current costs, cost reductions within current budget, recommendation to reduce costs within the current budget, any attempts by the district to recover costs, fees under current operations. We are looking at the time period from January 1st, 2016 to present date. That, I don't know what exists to answer that, so we will need some research, and maybe Carl, you might know better than anybody if any of that exists. I'm not personally aware of any studies or reports that the district has done. A number of years ago, I'm sure past or prior to January 1st, 2016, I know an internal study was done about Rockland possibly starting their own ambulance service. But since January 1st of 2016, I'm not aware of any studies or anything that meets this request. But if any of the trustees are, or if there are any records, we need to respond to this request by a week from today.
I'm unaware of any when I read this from you.
The one thing that I can think of that may meet this definition would be the building lighting stuff, where we had a couple of venues come in. That was a presentation. It was about reducing costs within the budget. I don't think anything having to do with the mortgage does. That was simply, it was a 5-year balloon, it was over. That bank wouldn't renew it, it went somewhere else. That was not driven by cost savings, it was driven by necessity.
I don't currently have a copy of that report. I discarded it after we started talking with Mike about other options for the bays for lighting. So it was clear that we weren't going to go that route, and we were going to be able to be much more cost efficient by going the way that we had discussed with you. So I don't even have a copy of that. It was a presentation. I didn't really, I just didn't keep it.
Yeah.
As far as,
If there are any records, and somebody could check and get them to me, by the end of this week, so that we can properly respond to this request.
I'll look. I'm 99% certain I don't have that study anymore. If I find it, I will get it to you.
Okay.
And as far as the first one goes, again, I've gone through all of my personal emails, and I've given you everything I got. So I don't know what more to give you.
Okay.
Yeah, I had
All right. So that takes care of that. The last thing that I have is that President Rogers asked that I research the amount of legal fees the district has expended since January 1st of 2017 on answering dealing with Freedom of Information Act requests. And my research indicates 18.4 hours, or a total of $3,680 in legal fees during that period of time.
Okay, as this continues to rise, I'd like a monthly update so everybody knows what we're paying to hunt down emails and studies. And once we peak out on our legal fee department of what we have budgeted for you, then we'll have to start finding money elsewhere to pay for these additional costs.
All right, we will provide that on a monthly
Okay.
basis. And I believe that's all we had.
Okay. Let's want
I
to
have
just.
one quick question. We talked about background checks.
That's what I was looking at.
What about the driver's license thing? Are we?
That's what I was just going to ask
Oh,
Mike
I'm
if he
sorry.
could. No, the same thing. I was going to ask Mike if he could pass along to John. We spoke about it last month. If we could, I don't know, set a timetable of 30 days, or if you want longer, 45 days for all the current active members to get a driver's license. Tell me what it's called again.
Abstract.
It's an
Abstract,
abstract, but it's there's a name for it. It's like an insurance abstract. It's
That's
for
a driver's license abstract. They need to go to the driver's license bureau and
And you want him to,
Right.
you guys want to go ahead with that?
no, not the background check.
No, the driver's
The
license.
driver's license we have to provide for the insurance.
Okay.
So everybody here needs to just go to the driver's license bureau. John said that we would find money. He wants the district to pay for it. I think it's $12 a person. So if they'll bring a receipt along with their abstract and submit it to the board, then we can copy those and get them to the insurance company.
Yeah, and my memo was not aimed at the driver's license checks. That
No.
certainly is something that the district should undertake on an annual basis, and in fact, most fire departments that I'm aware of do a similar check.
So Mike, could you ask John or you or whatever to shoot for next month's meeting to have them all done. If somebody doesn't make it, I mean, we're certainly gonna work with them,
Okay.
but if they could get the,
MVR.
right, go out to the driver's license bureau and get an abstract, please. Anything else on the attorney's report?
I believe that's all we have.
Carl, Bob? Chief's report?
As we were talking earlier, John got called in due to an emergency, so I called him back in. He's on duty at Glencoe. So he got in touch with me a couple hours ago. He put something together quick. So this is what he wanted me to bring up. Damage was done to utility 44. You guys have already been notified by email of this. John's attempting to get a hold of Mavis to see if they'll cover the costs on fixing the tailgate on the pickup truck. He had an issue with the light tower coming off again.
Again.
The light tower's already been fixed by Mavis, and a pintle hitch has been put on it to avoid further incidences.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we're at this point. He'll be back in touch with you. Hopefully we can get some help out of Mavis. I believe it was last week, we had an injury to a member while training during the day that required surgical glue to close a laceration on his face. And what happened, I don't know the technical part of it. They had the truck set up and the main ladder was set up. The axe came off of the main ladder. And thank goodness the fireman had his helmet on, but it hit him. And in doing so, he ended up with a laceration on his face. He was fine. This was the repair that they did at the hospital. He went back on shift here. He was cleared to come back on. And since then, he's doing fine, but out of the ordinary incident that happened, thank goodness he did have his helmet on, because I'm sure it would have been a lot worse than that. John said he's still trying to obtain all the data for a 5-year call study that you guys asked for. However, most of it, he says, has been obtained. In response to Trustee Rogers' request of the value of a call to Lake Bluff, the closest number that he can come up with at this point is $260 per call. He said, well, that's with us responding to them 2 out of 3. We respond to them 2 out of 3 more than they do to us. At approximately 200 calls, that would equal approximately $52,000. Again, these are not final numbers. This is what John has here. I'm just reading sentence for sentence. He just wanted to provide an update at this point. He's trying to gather the rest of the information, but this is what he's got so far. The background policy, the attorneys talked about, and I wrote down a note here I'll pass along to him about the information for the driver's license abstract.
Okay.
We'll get on that right away. That's all John has.
Okay, John Kelly, did you have something that was, that wasn't in the attorney's report regarding the cost per call? You said you were looking up something that would say a generic number.
Well, I mean, the number of the cost per call, I don't think there is anything generic. It depends upon the center.
Okay.
If you take somebody like Red Center, that, and again, I'm not talking from the fire perspective, I'm talking what the dispatch centers charge. Red Center charges about $80 per call to dispatch their fire departments. On the other hand, CENTCOM, which is the Round Lake areas, the Greater Round Lake Fire Department charges about, I think it's about $31 a call to dispatch it. Now, the Fire Protection District Act does provide that there are certain levels of charges that the fire district is limited to charge, typically private citizens, for responses, and it's $75 a man and $200
for out-of-district residents?
Yeah,
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 and that's
$75 a man and $200 per vehicle.
$250 per vehicle regardless of the amount of time on station, and $75 per responding firefighter per hour. So that can be accumulate more.
So,
And that's for out-of-district response.
Correct, for one out-of-district residents.
right, the reason I'm bringing this up is based on John's preliminary figure. The district is out of pocket approximately $50,000 on calls. One of the examples is over the weekend, we had a call for a high fever, that we dispatched an engine to Lake, or Rescue 44 or an engine to Lake Bluff to respond for someone who had a high fever, along with Lake Forest dispatching an ambulance. And that's our equipment, our guys, and that's a cost to our residents, which I don't think that we should just absorb. And I'm trying to come up with a dollar amount to be reasonable and fair to go to Lake Bluff and say, if we're covering all your calls, which is in essence what we're doing during the day. Am I correct with that statement?
I would word it as assisting.
Okay,
I wouldn't say we're covering.
okay.
I mean, there's a fine line between the two, but they are showing up at the calls. We're assisting them and Lake Forest Ambulance. That's how I would put it.
So is Lake Bluff responding to all of those calls that we're responding to? I guess
one of them probably not, but the majority of them definitely.
So I guess my
Somebody
question is, and enlighten me, or whoever can enlighten me, when we have a call for a high fever, someone has a high fever, I'm wondering why we're getting dispatched at all to run an engine to Tangley Oaks for a high fever, that then someone at Knollwood calls, and we're up in Lake Bluff assisting Lake Forest Ambulance on someone who has a high fever. That's where my concern comes in.
Well, this particular call, I was out of town, so I don't know how that one was handled. Usually if a unit coming in isn't needed, if it's overkill, they're released, if not en route, very soon afterwards. So, did we stay, is anybody here that was on that call for the fever call over the weekend? Tito, you have any idea? Did the rig stay there during the call?
I don't know, usually at nighttime, they usually call us back, say, we don't need you guys. They call our radio, by the time we actually get out, the station around the corner,
Yeah.
we get disregarded.
So on that, we'd have to go into the records of the call and see how soon, how long was the unit on the call? They might have been returned while they were responding. I don't know.
My only concern was either last meeting or the meeting before, I asked John about this, and John told me, in fact, his words were that you don't respond anywhere west of Green Bay Road, and that it's usually just to the school, which obviously is a high risk area, so I could certainly understand that.
Yeah.
He said it was if they're being dispatched to anything east of Green Bay Road, it's a misstep by the dispatchers, and that he would see to it that that was corrected. But we're going to a huge number of calls on the east side of Green Bay Road. I know that we went to the same place twice, I think in one day or within 2 days, for a lift assist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Lake Bluff is responding to those calls and Lake Forest Ambulance is coming in, I don't understand why we're responding to those ambulance calls.
I can't answer that question. To a certain degree, I agree with what you're saying. It was set up, I think, Green Bay Road, right in that area where we were like automatic response, and now we're well into Lake Bluff. I don't know if the two chiefs have something worked out that I haven't heard about. I honestly don't know. So I don't want to answer why it is that way right now. I don't know.
Yeah,
I wish I could tell you, but I don't know.
Yeah, my concern is just is financial for the whole of this district. That's my concern, is that we be made whole if we're responding to all of their calls when they don't have anybody available. I understand to a limited, I'm not a fireman and I don't play one on TV, but I understand mutual aid. I get that if you're called, I get all that. But if there's just calls that are coming out during the day and we're responding to all of them with our equipment and our manpower and our fuel and our insurance and our wear and tear, I feel like we, Rockland Fire Protection District, should be entitled for something back. I know there's a brouhaha going right now about that with Lake Forest that, and again, don't hold me to dollars and cents on it, but when Lake Forest responds with an ambulance to Lake Bluff, if a Lake Bluff unit doesn't show up, they double bill them. And they're maintaining that if we show up, that's as good as them showing up. But evidently the contract, they're arguing about, if Knollwood shows up, does that count for Lake Bluff showing up? All that being said, it isn't like we're running this massive surplus of money, and I just want the district made whole. If there's money that's owed to us if Lake Bluff wants us to answer their calls, and you guys say we can do it, and they want to pay us to do that during whatever hours, fine, then just bring it to us and let's come up with a dollar amount and let's do it.
Yeah, I think
if
once
that's what you tell us.
John can dig up as much information here that you're looking for numbers,
Right.
then it's gonna get to the point where you gotta go sit down with their board,
I think that's what we
present
need
it
to
to
do.
them,
I
and
think we
then
need to
see what
just
happens
tell
from
them
there. I
that,
don't know what else you can do.
you know, we cannot continue to respond to all these calls just out of the goodness of our
The
heart.
chiefs can't make that call, you know,
Okay.
when you get to the contract agreements or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's gotta come from.
Well, I
you
have
guys
never
with
been
the
able to
board.
find anything in writing that says this is what we do for them. You know, I think it must be a gentleman's agreement between the chiefs. And I just think that that's something, if you're gonna give up that kind of money in our time and manpower and vehicles, that, you know, the board should be involved and be making some of those decisions.
Well, your concerns are valid. It's just gonna come to the point now, once you have enough numbers, you feel it's worthy now of having a conversation, then I understand what you're saying. Then it's up to you guys to go meet with Lake Bluff, that's not the two chiefs making the call on that.
Well, I want to make sure I'm not overstepping something the chiefs have discussed, is my point. And according to what John says, there's.
Yeah, but you know, I shouldn't sit here, I'm not speaking for John, but there comes a point here, you have a valid comment you're making, so then that's when you guys gotta step in, I would assume.
Okay.
Well, do we need to make a motion on the board that, that President Rogers, you know,
We need to-
contact Lake Bluff? And
Well, I think based on the deputy chief's comments and the fact that the chief's not here, I think you probably need more information, those
Okay.
exact numbers and what the chief's understanding is, so I don't.
Okay, I'll reach out to John. Go ahead.
And so you understand too, this isn't mutual aid, this is like an ARA agreement.
Right.
It's different. Mutual aid is mutual aid.
Right.
I mean,
I understand.
right, you've been going to, you know, occasionally to Wisconsin, that's mutual aid.
Right.
They call if you're available, you go.
Right.
You know, even if it's at.
No, I think something like
This is
this
on a
would
day-to-day
not include
work.
Mavis, and it
Right.
would not include ARAs to high-risk, you know,
But I mean, this is
schools.
more along the lines of an ARA, an automatic response agreement, because it's done on a consistent basis.
Yeah,
Almost
but
on a
when it
day-
includes all calls, that's a little usually
Right,
beyond
just
what an
so you
ARA.
understand the difference between.
No, I do understand the difference,
It's
and
not
that's what concerns
really
me.
mutual aid, it's
Right,
it's
right.
along the lines of ARA. But your number question is definitely valid, and at some point, you're gonna have to, you guys are gonna have to approach them,
Okay.
try and work something out.
Okay, so if I approach, if I talk to Lake Bluff, since I've been talking to Drew, if we were to put together some type of a preliminary ARA agreement, that's something that you guys would have?
Yes, yeah, ARAs are fairly standard.
Okay.
The question for an ARA is the parameters during which each is going to respond to the other, or if it's just one-sided, what the response is going to be, and then what the, any agreement towards charge. I mean, generally, ARAs are without charge because it's reciprocal. But if it's one-sided, we certainly could do that. But yes, an ARA is a fairly standard form in the fire service, so.
Okay, I will reach out to Drew and see where he's at after I speak with John and get a little bit more information on it. Okay. You done with the chiefs?
Have something for the chiefs?
Okay.
Okay. We, the district, are members of the Illinois Public Risk Fund. That's where we purchase our workman's comp insurance from. They have a number of resources. A lot of them are along, you know, managing loss control. But one of the things that they have come up with recently is that they make available to all departments free of charge is simulator training. And they have fire extinguisher simulators, drive simulators, and shooting firearms training simulators. So this is a service, you know, give you this, you can share it with Chief Harlow, yeah, and maybe the other officers. It sounds like something pretty interesting. Again, it's free of charge. They'll send an instructor out here with the, you know, it's video-based, hands-on training. So I might be interested. It's something we get for being members of that fund.
I'll pass it on. You handed me that paper earlier, was it, you wanted to bring that up and when you get into financing, did I hand it over to Tito? We're looking for some information, or do you want info on that now? Oh, Carl, I'm
You
sorry.
want, no, that's right, you want to get that now?
Well, let's
You wanna do it through the treasurer's report?
We can just
Okay.
catch down in the warrants.
Pick it up there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, hiring process, background checks, we discussed that. We're gonna work on the driver's license, the hiring process. We got a plan in place. Did we not approve that last month? Or the hiring,
I don't believe it was
I don't
approved
believe
last
it
month.
was.
I think it was deferred for legal review.
okay, that's what it was. And?
And I can't remember if there was something else. Let me check the minutes here. Yes, proposed hiring policy board requested attorney review before potentially implementing in August. We do not have any concerns regarding the policy as Chief Harlow prepared it and distributed it to the board last month.
Okay, can we approve it as listed on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the hiring process as sent to our attorneys?
So moved.
All in favor?
There probably should be a
Roll call, Carl,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
and I.
Oh, one thing I would just mention, well, there's another requirement for all new hires to start January 1st, and that's we have to fill out and retain ourselves an I-9 federal form. So that should be part of the procedure of implementation of this policy, is that we also have to get an I-9 filled out.
Okay. Number 9, treasurer's report.
Okay, you look at the balance sheet, we'll see that in, as of July 31st, in the last month, in the Lake Forest Bank capital savings, or capital account, there's $36,367.98. In the checking account, we had $154,609.18. In the reserve account, we have $273,712.56. And still sitting in the Northern Trust checking account is $26,816.77. Paid cash is at $29.05. So our total cash is $491,535.554 at this time. Okay, and let's see. We do have budget tracking for since we approved the budget last year, or I'm sorry, last meeting. So we'll go ahead and put together the budget tracking. So we're 3 months in, 25%. As you know, revenue we're a little over 50% through getting all of our revenue. It's a bit front end loaded. As we sort of go down, some things to note are on wages we're running at 18%, so we're a little bit below the trend on that, but that's typical because we have the call pay and everything that happens, the call officers pay in December, so we'll have a big bump, and all of a sudden, at that point, then we'll be ahead of the line until we kind of even out for the rest of the year. Going down on the, under the district contractual expenses, and because that's split both under the ambulance fund and the district fund, that's at 34.8%. That's high, but that's because we pay 100% of the insurance, the liability, automobile, property casualty, all our insurance. We pay 100% of that in the first quarter. So that is as expected. That doesn't mean we're on trend on that. We spend about 65% of the monies allocated for the LED building lighting, so that should be fine. And then also our workman's, not the workman's, our liability insurance that I mentioned on that, we're at 99.7%, so we basically paid 100% of that. Workman's comp, we're at about 16%. We pay that quarterly, and as soon as the next payment comes in, we'll top up the line a little bit there. The only other thing, a couple of small things of interest, maybe as you roll down there, you notice under fire training that we're actually negative on that, and that is because we had there was a bill 4 or 5 years ago, from NIPSTA for training that apparently was disputed, and we had written the check, and the check had never been cashed. So we were finally able to tie that up, void the check. No payment was due. We recovered those funds, so that flows back into the account. So we have more money than we budgeted in essence. And then finally, at the very bottom of page 2, you'll notice the reimbursable, showing that it's at 100%. That's a year-end thing, and that when we, for example, if we purchase something that we're going to be reimbursed for, typically through the association, I'll throw it into that account, and then when we get the money from them, that goes in the account, and they clear each other. Well, we had $894 that was in that last year, and then before May 1st. In other words, expenses were incurred before May, but they paid us after May 1st, so it doesn't show that clearing. So it in a sense shows that we've got $894 negative, which in this case is a good thing. It means there's more, but really we're at zero. It's just a year-end clearing thing. And the only other thing on page 3 I would note is that on motor vehicles we're at 40%, which is kind of high for this point in the year. I know we've had some problems with some of the vehicles, but we have to keep an eye on that one because we're running a little ahead of trend on that. Other than that, everything's in pretty good shape on the budget. So, if there are any questions, please ask. Other than that, I would ask for a motion.
I have. Did you already cut a check for the material for the lighting?
Yes.
Where is it? Because I haven't seen it, if I may ask.
It's an electronic check that went right to Idlewood.
Oh, you sent it to Idlewood?
Yeah.
Okay. They're supposed to go with me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We'll check into that.
Yeah.
I'm sure
If there's an
they're
issue-
sharp, so we'll figure it
We'll
out.
we can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to be, I would ask to be very clear on marking on the bill if that's the case.
Okay.
As to who
I
needs
thought
to be
John
paid.
passed it on to you that way, but that's okay.
Yeah,
That's
so-
all right. We'll get it straightened out.
Okay, we certainly can work that out.
I'll make a motion, we accept the treasurer's report as presented.
Second.
Roll call vote, trustee Grum,
Aye.
trustee Rogers, aye, trustee Snowden.
Okay, outstanding invoices. Got the checks to approve, and go through those real quickly. Let's see. Impact Networking, that's the contract for the printer, and there was a $2 overage. I mean, we get quarterly, it's $135 a quarter, and if we go over a certain number of clicks, there's a charge, and we did it at $2, no big deal on that. Fleet services is fuel for the vehicles. TGF Enterprises, some airline parts for the building. Payroll, then the TDS is the phone and internet connection. Lake County Public Works water bill, $8. The Lake Forest Bank and Trust is the mortgage. Food for garbage. Air One for SCBA. That was the PPV fan needed to be repaired. 5-alarm is quartermasters, that was suspenders, Village of Libertyville. That was the unpaid part of the contract where I basically made a mistake when I cut the check and undercut it. Still don't know what happened, but we cleared it up with them. We had our $5 service charge for the checking account. Oh, the Visa Northern Trust, that's an interesting thing. We still have the Visa card. I have called them and canceled that, but there was a reoccurring charge on that for some software, but that's all been straightened out now, so that'll go away. And that card will be canceled. ComEd, utility, electric, the Visa bill, 1710, we have the detail of that coming up in a minute. North Shore Water Reclamation, sewer bill, 5-alarm, again, that's quartermaster for boots. American Gas is oxygen. Biotron was maintenance on the Zoll monitor. Chicago Communications was radio repair for 4401. The Tribune Media Group was the publishing of the prevailing wage notice. Oh, here we go, Idlewood Electric, the bulbs. So there's your for $1,600. So got paid. Some Brits, $750 for the retainer. And then, look at it, the remainder for FOIA and travel and the disconnection ordinance and the prevailing wage resolution, all those different things. And then fleet services again, we're catching them right at the end of the month as well as the beginning of the month, right? So there won't be one for August. For fuel, and then North Shore Gas for gas, natural gas. So that's that. On the Visa, that, okay, or the Citibank, that's where I need Tito's copy over
Tammy's gonna be chasing me down from now on.
Okay, so for the OSI batteries,
The only thing I'm missing is the Walmart when I text Harlow, but I think he's on a call right now.
Okay.
And we got, but everything else it should be on there.
okay. What's the TIC battery?
The thermal imager?
Oh, thermal imager, okay. And then, so, post office is a certified letter. What's the certified letters for?
We sent certified letters to the houses for.
Oh, for the disconnection.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, alert all corpus kids costumes at, was it 4th of July?
That was, it's pub ed, so I mean, it's for,
Okay.
yeah.
Team Viewer was the remote software so that we could get Countryside up and running reliably. Again, that seems to be working out fine. We're using it, so they're not hearing any complaints. You're just going to check on Walmart, post office certified letter again, Amazon chainsaw parts, Advanced Auto, switch for the ladder, Amazon's garden hose, again, the kids' costumes, Home Depot, oh, the tool feel like it's a small tools, CIT truck was E44 parts, Costco station supplies, and then Heinz was 4th of July food.
Who has the charge card?
I have one, and John has the other, which he has.
Hands out?
Yeah. The issue that we have with this, and I tried to get John to figure out what he wanted to do, but I'm sure it wasn't it's high on his list of priorities, is besides being a charge card, it is also the Costco membership card.
Right.
It's in Eric's name, okay? As far as a charge card, you can pass it around and anybody can use it. As far as a Costco membership card, not so much, okay? So we need to sort of figure out what you want to do with that. And then you can go ahead and get the card reissued to the right name. But it's who should hold the Costco membership?
Tito, is it unreasonable to ask that on most of these, other than the Amazon, which pulls up on our Amazon charge, when you go to Advanced Auto and you buy stuff, to just bring the receipt back and throw it into the trustees bin?
Yeah, we can do that.
I mean, that would be really helpful, and that way, when Tammy starts doing this, she can make copies of those receipts and clip them together, and that way the board knows what's going on. If there's any questions, we can handle it, you know, ahead of time.
Okay, and then I'll make sure that they're all in a category of what they go to.
Right, and you can put a post-it on there or whatever you want, like the Home Depot bill, just put the receipt, and if it's multiple categories, then make a note of what it is, staple it to it, whatever, and throw it in the trustees' drawer up there.
Okay.
All right, that would be great to see if we can do that.
So what we'll need is a motion to approve the outstanding invoices in the amount of $37,221.99.
So moved.
I'll second that. Roll call vote, trustee Snowden,
Aye.
trustee Grum,
Aye.
trustee Rogers, aye. Station lighting update. I think that's really actually you versus me and John.
We'll get started on it sometime next week.
Okay, everything's in, you're happy with everything, everything's good?
Yeah.
Do you want that lift that I have?
No, thank you. I got scaffolding
Okay,
on wheels, it'll work perfectly fine.
okay. Great, when it's in, let me know, I'd love to see it.
Certainly will. Try and have it done for the next meeting.
Okay. The accident district facility use, I think we passed that. That was done last month, so we can mark that off, right, that's already been passed. Update on joint services with Lake Bluff agreement, fee schedule clarification. I will work on that and talk to Drew this month and see what his thoughts are on it, and then be in touch with John Kelly and or Brian regarding an area agreement. I'll also follow through with John on that as well, prior to getting in touch with Lake Bluff, so that we're all together. Update on Lake Forest Joint Fire EMS Task Force. Anything new?
Nope, not, I'm not sure they're even meeting anymore.
Okay.
It just sort of fell off the map.
All right, we'll
Bob-
take that
Bob
off.
Kiley was, gosh, back in May, was looking for a July date, but then he never confirmed it. I've not heard anything more, so that may.
Better take it off the agenda for next month.
Yeah, probably should.
All right, we'll take it off. Okay, non-agenda item.
Wait a minute, 14, you missed me.
I did?
Yeah.
I did, sorry.
The only thing I have is that, as directed at the last meeting, we sent letters out to Lake Forest and Libertyville concerning any contractual stuff, any proposals, anything that they might have that they would be wanting to present to us. And as of yet, I have not received anything.
Okay. Non-agenda items. Trustee Snowman? Trustee Grumman?
No.
Deputy Chief, nominations, resignations, terminations of any members.
To my knowledge, other than Joe Neasley, so.
That was the last, yeah.
Right. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:26 PM.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. That's it, thanks, everybody.
Still working.